I was watching Red October's video, and he was saying possibly, who knows, revolution could happen or something could happen. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the future. You do know the future, and I'm here to show you why. If you want to watch this video to its complete end, the information you need to know what's happening in the future is out there on the internet. You just have to take the time to read it. Now, darpa.mil. You know, this is not .com, it's .mil, which is a military domain address. darpa.mil. They actually tell you they have a YouTube channel. They talk about their advancements, what they're doing, and it really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what this company's constantly working on. And if you actually scroll through their section where they talk about everything they're working on, you can pretty much figure out what's going on. Like over here, for example, they talk about hearing voices of program managers, which is normally what you get in Voices from DARPA's podcast. They talk about different noises. Now, what you can get out of that is they're obviously working on something that really can hear long distances. If you come down, DARPA has selected a team to capture portable water from the air. Well, why would you want that? I mean, obviously, they want to drop an entire platoon or whatever wherever they have to, and they want to suck the water out of the air instead of somebody trying to find a water place or to deliver water. I mean, if you think about it, water is very heavy. So if you got to deliver millions and millions of gallons to platoons everywhere, that gets pretty expensive. If you could pull the water right out of the air, well, now the entire platoon is going to be quite happy, aren't they? How about we come down here? DARPA launches program to mitigate coastal flooding, erosion, and storm damage. See, DARPA is a military scientific group. They're really not there for the people. So why would they care about coastal flooding and erosion? They're studying this because they're trying to figure out, well, if we launch 2, 3, 4 missiles or whatever and we, destroy the edges of the ocean or whatever, what effect will that have if we need that to kill somebody? That's the whole idea of this. Every time they say something, do not think it's for the people. How about this one? DARPA successfully demonstrates transition of advanced RF networking program. What does that mean? It basically means that, well, what's it say here? I have an idea, but radio networks enable communication between incompatible tactical radio data links, even if the presence of hostile. So if somebody's jamming the radio and they're talking back and forth, they can get around it. They're researching that. Increase access to critical tools, IP, to accelerate innovation. That's a bunch of internet stuff, so they're trying to harden that better. DARPA Gremlins project completes third flight test. Is this about the planes flying themselves? Attempts to airborne retrieval of 3 unmanned air vehicles, nicknamed Gremlins, were just inches from success. They're trying to have the planes fly by themselves, and they're using AI to do it, and the AI learns as they teach them. And of course, we're using our pilots to teach them. So it's going to get to the point, I think they said they're going to launch something in 2024, if I remember correctly. I watch this stuff quite avidly, and most people should. But I think they're expecting to de-man airplanes, where your drones are already up there flying with, people with their headsets on from safe locations. Your planes will fly themselves. And the reason for that is because the AI acts a lot quicker than a human being. When you think about turning right, even though our pilots are just amazing because they are selected from the top 1%, the AI is faster. And they've already proven that. So when some other country decides to fight us, they're not going to stand a chance. I mean, literally 2 of our planes could take out 30 of their planes because of how quick they're going to attack and what they do. Which, yes, saves us money, but the research costs a lot of money to get there. DARPA looks to light up integrated phonics with chip-scale laser development. they need the chips to be bigger and better. So that's just something I can see they're working on, because your AI needs bigger chips. AI is the biggest thing right now, right? The hypersonic materialist. In this episode of Voices from DARPA podcast, a program manager talks about accounts and scientific journey. So that's a bunch of hoopla. Coordinates robotics. Everything's robotics. You have to understand that. Everything's robotics. DARPA selects teams to further advance dogfighting algorithm, which I already talked about. So this is where the planes are going to do the dogfighting. And it's all ran by AI. So you just have to go through this stuff and take a look at what they're working on. I mean, early investments in COVID-19 antibody identification producing timely results. Antibody identification? Identification. Pay attention to this. You know, this is identifying you by an antibody, not by a chip. I mean, right now they watch everything you do with cell phones, but sooner or later it's just going to be an antibody inside you. And everybody says, "Oh, I'm not going to take a virus needle. I'm not going to take the COVID shot. I'm not." It ain't going to matter. Sooner or later they'll have it in you by something. Maybe a glass of milk or whatever. You're wasting your time. They're working on spinal cord injuries. This is a good thing. They're trying to figure out, because approximately 44,000 veterans have spinal cord injuries, with 11,000 new injuries occurring each year. So they're trying to figure out a way to protect the back. Could be an ectoskeleton, who knows. Now, when you see stuff like this, okay, and you see where it says teens modify skin micro for disease prevention. Yes, DARPA's going to try and prevent diseases from spreading by mosquitoes or other things like that. And people would think, wow, that's really good if DARPA doing that. Do you really believe that's what they're doing when they have a .mil domain name? Now, sure, they may come out with a cure for this and may fix all this with West Nile or whatever, and say, okay, But are they actually researching the other side of it? How can we spread something quickly? How can we send it into a population quickly? You can put money on that. That's probably the reason for that type of research. Okay? But as you go down, like here, Indianapolis test advances capabilities of chemical biological threat detection sensors. So just keep that thought in your mind. Why are they testing capabilities of chemical biological threat detectors? Why are they making this? Why are they spending gobs of money to do this? Are they expecting somebody to attack us with a chemical biological threat? Hell yeah. They know this is coming. So when you get a bunch of people prepping out there like myself, and we all say, oh, we'll get an AR, we'll get 3,000 rounds of ammo, and we're all good. You're going to fight a biological threat? You're going to fight 200 robots walking down the street that have reaction times 300 times better than a human being? They just got to look at you and zoom in on you, and boom, one shot, you're down. ARs, AKs in the next 20 years are going to be obsolete. Nothing. They're not going to do nothing. You'll pull out your handgun, and it'll be like shooting BBs is what'll happen. So this is page 2. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll give you a link where you can go through this and just kind of glance through and read it yourself. Okay, how about this one? No manning required ships. Program kicks off trade space analysis. So they're working on boats that drive themselves. Here's another one. Off-road unmanned vehicles that react like humans. Are you seeing a pattern here? There's no people. There's no people at all. And all this stuff is going to start kicking off in 224, 225. I mean, I will be around for it, hopefully. And I will see the beginning of this. But it's almost DARPA is the opposite of what you've seen in Terminator, where they took over. And it's just funny how movies sometimes make perfect sense when we come into this, DARPA's program enters second phase because Marine organisms observe changes in their environment using a combination of sensors, robots, AIs. Test. How about this one? Subterranean Challenges identified qualified teams for cave circuit visual competition. They're basically mapping caves, and they're going to use cameras that are good for low light. They're going to use AI, and literally you're going to release it. And if you go back and you remember back in Vietnam, we had our muskrats or whatever they called them. They went into the caves, and it was very dangerous. There were some crazy guys that did that job just to get people out of the caves. Well, not anymore. They're going to walk up, with a platoon, drop a couple of robots, sit back outside with the monitor and watch it map everything, see if there's anything in there. Is it worth going in? None of this stuff is to help the human race. None of it's to feed the human race. None of it's to prevent diseases for the human race. This is all about big money, and it's big money on how to kill. And that's it. Creating cross-domain kill webs in real time. You take the time to read some of this stuff. It's George Jetson stuff out there. I mean, it literally is going to shock you, and you're going to be like, "Can I really be prepared for any of this?" I don't think so. I mean, you can prepare for a hurricane. You can prepare for putting food away. Food insurance. When you're in between jobs, you can prepare for like a tornado. Like I have a tornado shelter. I mean, you can prepare for weather. But it's kind of scary when AI, artificial intelligence, and robots have become more powerful and more crazy than weather itself. And this is just what they're putting on the website. Can you imagine what they're hiding? Which you're not seeing? How about this one? DARPA completes key milestone on hypersonic air-breathing weapons. Air-breathing weapons? Why would a weapon need to breathe air? Completion of carry tests of 2 variants of hypersonic air-breathing weapon concept are ready to proceed to its first free flight testing within the calendar year. I have no idea what this is. I haven't even read this one yet. Wow. But just even the titles are enough to turn around and shake your head and go, what the heck? How do I prepare for an air-breathing weapon that's going to attack me? Harness quantum technologies at room temperature. Heavy-duty science stuff there. The people that work at DARPA.mil, I mean, these people have unbelievable paychecks, and they're highly educated. But it is quite amazing where DARPA's going, and really it just takes a person, 10, 15 minutes to read this stuff and take a look at what's going on and basically what's coming. But people can prep all they want, but are they going to be prepared for things like this to happen? Oh, how about a space mechanic that's made with a robot? It fixes things in space. They're into everything. DARPA's like unlimited money, unlimited resources, and they have the smartest people in the world. They pluck them out of universities before they even graduate. Okay? How about a swarm commander? When you just read some of this stuff, you're just like, wow. So people talk about prepping and how they're going to be prepared for anything, and they're just the cat's meow for a world event. There ain't no world event coming. DARPA's got your back. And everybody says, oh, we're going to have a World War III, and I just laugh when I hear this stuff. It's not going to happen. The amount of technology and the amount of AI that we're racing toward will prevent anything from like this happening in the future. There will no longer be a war. It will be control. And your so-called poor countries, Asian countries, third world countries, they're going to be controlled. You take a look at, for example, North Korea. We've never gone back and attacked them, even though they slave their people. They treat their people like pieces of shit, basically. Why haven't we gone back there and took that over? We've always been upset by crimes to the people. We were upset with Hitler. If anything, we should have attacked North Korea a long time ago. Why aren't we? There's just too many of them. Their population's crazy. But if we can send in 50,000 robots that can pinpoint and fire and kill on a dime. But what's the big deal? North Korea is not advancing. They're not getting the AI. They're not getting these technologies like DARPA's got. It's not happening. Now, I've showed you just one website. And like I said, can you imagine what's coming that we don't even know about? How about this one? Teams to increase security of semiconductor supply chain. We don't want anybody interrupting our semiconductors now. Need those for the AI. How about this one? Detecting threats with time to act. So how do we detect a threat? And this was back in 2019. How do we detect a threat before it happens? If you're a prepper, I don't care who you are. You're not going to be prepared for any of this. None of it. I mean, the only thing that's stopping this from mass producing right now is the cost. I mean, we're talking a couple $1 million to make these robots. I mean, these things are not cheap to make, and they take a lot of money. They're not produced on assembly lines or anything like that yet. None of that's going on. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you got robots making robots, and that's already beginning, they're doing it with cars, it'll blow your mind away. You know, years ago, and this was years ago, and I wasn't allowed to talk about it then. I used to drive truck, and I only did that for, I think it was 5 years. I drove and I held steel. And I went to this factory, and when I got there, I had to park my truck a certain way, and the machine came out and took the steel off my truck. I had to remove my chains and everything. And all it was, there was a security guard. That was it. He asked me if I wanted to come and have a look inside, and I said, sure. While they unloaded my truck, and it was robots unloading my truck. As I walked into this place, it was making a car from beginning to end. And it was apparently an experimental factory, and it was all done by robots. Now, this was done 25 years ago, I'd like to say, when I did that. Maybe 30 years ago. So imagine where they're at now. They really don't need people in factories making cars. They really don't. It's like they're only keeping them there, and they're bringing in robots slowly to watch over the transition. So literally, if they were to turn around and turn all this stuff into robotic, like McDonald's, Burger King, every place, and they can do it, they would destroy the economy probably much worse than COVID. So they have to do it slowly. So they bring in, you know, they take out 1,000, 2,000 jobs with some robots in the car factories. These people, they try to move them around, or they try to re-educate them, or they move them out. And they're making this transition happen slowly so it doesn't destroy our economy. But this is the route it's going. They're going to do a simulation. This was done back in 5/11/2020. And like I said, you just read what DARPA's working on. And this is only what they want you to hear. Can you imagine what you're not hearing? The level of what's going on? How about here? Acting Director Heinemann discusses COVID-19. That was back at 4/3/2020. The United States confronts a potential national security threat each time a new outbreak of infectious disease occurs anywhere in the world. And I've said this before. COVID is just the beginning. Our military must be able to deploy safely to wherever they are required to operate. The disease threats seen abroad can also impact the civilian population. Now, you'll notice when this sentence here, they didn't say the civilian population first. They talked about their military first. Then, we'll talk about the civilians, right? The nationwide spread of H1N1 flu in 2009, the Middle East respiratory syndrome in India in 2013, and the essence of Ebola in Texas in 2014 are recent reminders of this reality, as the current COVID-19 shows. An unwarned, highly contagious virus can rapidly overwhelm medical systems worldwide. So they're talking about how do we prevent another virus from catching us by surprise, which means they're working on systems to maybe check your eye, your dilation and your pupil, your temperature. I mean, heck, if they can even take your blood pressure when you're walking down the street. They want to have a system that automatically alerts them to putting it into it fast, quick, and rapidly. I wonder what else they're working on in the background, huh? How about this? Benefits of rapidly constructed logistic tunnels. They're working on some type of things they build quickly. Here we go, preventing pandemics again. But you don't see the news talking about DARPA, do you? No, why would they do that? You know, they've got a whole army of scientists trying to figure out how to prevent pandemics. Not COVID. All right? COVID's just the beginning. They're working on systems to prevent any pandemic because they know more are coming. This is Mickey Mouse, what we're going through right now. And people don't understand it. Yes. What do we got? I don't even know. 500,000 dead? This is nothing. This is the way of the world. And this is coming. And our so-called amendments that we like to use, and I say so-called because they're disappearing. You know, they're disappearing quickly. It's going to get to a point where you're given no choice. If a new pandemic comes up, they're simply going to show up at your house, or you're going to have to go someplace and get it. If you don't, they'll pick you up and jail you. And there ain't going to be anybody protesting it because they'll take care of that real quick with the robots. Life is changing. It's not for the better. Just because of how mean people want to be out there. It's going to come to a time to where they say we need a world war. And yes, that will come, but it won't be with us. It'll be with the robots walking down the street. It'll be with the planes flying themselves, the ships driving themselves. Everything controlled by DARPA. Controlled by a computer program with an AI that has learned. Till finally it gets so big and so uncontrollable that we are going to have to give complete control to DARPA. And give complete control to the AI, just like you've seen in the movie Terminator. It's coming. Because we are too slow to react, and the AI is not. Now, as human beings, we don't like to trust things. I mean, when you've asked your kid to do something that you know full well your kid can't do it or may screw it up, you will run over there and assist because you just can't give that control. So think about when they give that control to an AI. You know, but there's lots of talk about this here. You know, lots of talk about how they're going to prevent other pandemics. Lots of talk about how they're going to make things safe. But anytime you see them doing any form of research on anything, think about the dark side. Because like I said, it's darpa.mil. It's not darpa.friendly or darpa.we-care. You know, DARPA's launch challenges closes with no winner. Now, they do this a lot. They run these little challenges, and if anybody out there can figure it out, so not only are they doing stuff in-house, but they're trying to see if there's somebody else out there in the internet world that is smarter. And that goes on quite a bit with a lot of companies, by the way. And if somebody wins, nobody knows what goes on in the background, but you can pretty much count there's a limousine parked out in front of that guy's house, and he's offering that guy an amazing amount of money just to come work with the company. And this stuff is what goes on all the time. Okay? How about building hardware-enabled continuous data protections? Well, how many times have we heard about the computers in the government being hacked into or something broken into by Russia, by China? Oh, we got a whole division trying to stop that going on. You know. And it doesn't take much to think about what's going on just by what you've heard on the news. Like here's one here, Subterranean Challenge. This is where they're going and checking the caves. You know, and here they're offering, $500,000 prize, $250,000 prize take home. Somebody won it. You know. How about an atmosphere as a global sensor? We're gonna monitor the atmosphere on a continuous basis. Would that be because of global warming? I mean, just look at all the projects they got going. It's crazy. And since the invention of AI, they don't have enough smart people to go. So what happens with that? Let's say I've got a facility, I've got, I don't know, 100,000 smart people working in this facility, but it's not enough. I want 1,000,000 of them. Well, guess what happens? AI is finally going to kick into place, and we're not going to need those people because AI is going to figure it out. And that's kind of scary because let's say AI does figure out how to cure cancer, and they do make it available. Well, but we don't know how AI did it. They say power corrupts. And absolute power really corrupts. I mean, we've heard all these sayings. So what's going to happen in the end when all this finally reaches a height? I don't know. I won't be here. But I do know there will be a lot of people rebelling. There will be a lot of people probably leaving high-tech countries like USA, Canada, United Kingdom. They will leave those countries. They will try to leave to go to another country where high-tech is not there. They will run from it. But over time, because of just like people populating, the AI is going to populate, and it's slowly going to spread across the world to where you could be walking down a dirt trail in the middle of nowhere, and there could be an ant just sitting there on the side of the road with a camera on its head watching you as you walk by. This is where technology is going if it's not already there. Because most of your robotic stuff they're inventing is in the way of animals. Bats, rabbits, dragonflies. You can search YouTube and just find robot after robot that's demonstrating an animal because they already know how the animal works and flies. They have it all. Now all we got to do is attach some cameras to it, get really great batteries. Batteries is probably what's holding us back more than anything else. And they're desperately working on that. So when you hear preppers talk about, I got my backpack lean and clean and I can go, my backpack only weighs 30 pounds and I can run and I can carry my AR and I can carry 100 rounds of ammo, I'm about to tell you a big fucking deal. It's not going to fight these things at all. You're not going to be able to hide from them. I don't care how far underground you go. I don't care where you go. You go into caves. Look, they got the robots going into the caves. You're not going to go anywhere. If anything was truly going to happen with this population, it would have to happen now. And it would have to kick us back 100 years. To where we have the same technology as third world countries is where it would have to be. And then we might postpone this from happening. Again, almost like the Terminator movie where they went back and forth in the future. This stuff is scary, and this is only what they're showing the public. Every time I see something new with a robot, I just shake my head and I'm just going like, man, I didn't build my bunker deep enough. But like I said, it's not going to matter. So really, if anybody's preparing, what are they preparing for? They're preparing for being out of work. That's what's coming. If you're working now and you're making good money, then yeah, make your supply big. Concentrate on canned food. Concentrate on all kinds of things. Because that's basically what you're preparing for. Now, how long that'll last till you find another job, who knows? How much education can you get to protect yourself? Who knows? But over the next 20 years, you're going to see a lot of amazing things coming. Whether it be medical, whether it be war, whether it be detecting pandemics, whether it be keeping people healthy, it's coming. You take the U.S. has an obese problem. UK has an obese problem. I mean, everybody's on a diet. Everybody's trying to lose weight. This has become a phenomenon. And you're going to see something sooner or later that's going to take care of it. It's just going to be a pill. And it's going to take care of that problem real quick. So, what are you preparing for? Ask yourself that question. The guys that are preparing with, ammo, guns, and everything else, They've literally wasted thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to the rifle companies. It has done nothing. Now, if you go and take extensive courses on robotics and understand how boards work and how they harden them and how you destroy them, might be a better idea, because you're going to have to know how to stop them. And like anything else, before we learn anything, and I don't care what it is, whether you play a video game, whether you sit down to learn a new hobby, whether you're doing woodworking, whether you're doing photography like I do, you have to make thousands and thousands of mistakes by the time you get good at it. And it's with that with anything, whether you cook, whatever it is. Well, when this finally takes place and DARPA releases the reins and the AI takes over, how many are going to have to die by the time we figure out how to dent them? And the problem is the AI thinks so quickly that even when we do figure out a kink in its armor, it's already adapted tenfold. We're creating monsters, is what we're creating. And this has all been warned. Elon Musk and many other people have warned about this AI. But nobody's taking it seriously, and everybody's ignoring it. Elon Musk, one of our smartest guys in the world apparently, has warned everybody about AI. We've even had people say, you know, if you know anything about AI, come apply for a job, I'll hire you. I don't care if you got a diploma. And they keep it all top secret. AI is God, whether people want to believe it or not. And people say, oh, we the people. There ain't no we the people. We're allowing this shit to happen. And if we don't shut this down, you're done. You are not going to have any more freedom. There is not going to be any more First Amendment, Second Amendment. It's not going to exist. AI will own your ass. And people are not educated enough to see this coming. And it makes me wonder if they kept people uneducated on purpose. We'll teach them a little math. We'll teach them a little... Heck, my kid, who is 25 years old, does not know how to read cursive. He knows how to read some of it. The school stopped teaching it. It's almost like they were trying to make people stupid. But that's a pretty long ramble. Probably one of the longest videos I've ever made. And I don't know if I should make more of them, because this has gone on for 32 minutes, and I doubt anybody listened to the whole thing from beginning to end. I doubt it with all my heart. But this is what's coming. And I'll put a link to DARPA, and you can read it yourself, and you can just open your eyes wider and wider as you go through it. But if you can see beyond the articles on what they're working on and where it's going and what they're working on secretly, you'll be like, holy shit, my little cans of food ain't gonna do shit. And that's what's coming. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next one.